The wind swept across the hedgerows of Northley Village as Lydia Hargrave locked the school's art room for the evening. Her hands were stained faintly with charcoal dust, the kind she'd stopped noticing after years of teaching. She tucked a few rolled sketches under her arm and made her way down the narrow lane toward the cottage she rented with her daughter, Elsie. When they arrived home, the first thing Lydia saw was a cream-colored envelope resting oddly on the welcome mat. No stamp. No return address. Just her name written in fine, looping cursive. Inside, on thick vellum paper, were only a few words. One of your works has waited long enough. Friday. Ashcombe Hall. 7 p.m. That was all. No signature. Lydia frowned. Ashcombe Hall was 20 miles away. An old manor house turned into a private art gallery that hosted exhibits for elite collectors and famous names. She had no connections there. No one had bought her paintings in years, not since the summer exhibition in Bristol that had ended with a storm and her work waterlogged in a forgotten storage room. She turned the paper over again. Nothing. Did someone send you a party invite? Elsie asked, balancing a teacup too big for her hands. Lydia smiled faintly and shook her head. I don't think it's that kind of thing, she murmured. That night, after Elsie was tucked in, Lydia sat alone at the kitchen table, the invitation open beside a cup of cooling tea. She thought back through the years. There had been a painting long ago that vanished during a fundraising event. A portrait. A young girl with a hopeful gaze, her cheeks flushed with soft crimson. Lydia had painted it for a children's charity, but after the exhibition, no one ever claimed it. The gallery said it had been misplaced. She had assumed it was gone forever. Could it be? On Friday evening, Lydia stood in front of her wardrobe in silence. Everything she owned felt too plain, too teacher at parents' evening. She eventually chose a navy blue dress with a threadbare hem and pinned her hair up with the brooch Elsie had made her from wire and glass beads. Ashcombe Hall rose from the hills like a storybook castle, its windows lit golden against the gray twilight. Lydia's heart pounded as she approached the entrance, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. Inside, the hallway glittered with chandeliers. Paintings from across the centuries lined the walls. Guests moved like shadows in silk and velvet, their voices low and clipped. A woman in black approached her with a calm smile. Lydia Hargrave? Yes, Lydia replied, her voice unsure. You're expected, the woman said. Please follow me. They walked through the grand corridor until they reached a red velvet curtain. The woman gestured for Lydia to wait. Behind the curtain, she could hear soft murmurs, glasses clinking, and distant classical music. Then the woman stepped behind the curtain and disappeared. Lydia stood alone, her heart thudding louder than the orchestra. Something waited behind that curtain. And someone knew exactly who she was. The heavy curtain drew back slowly, revealing a small, intimate room bathed in soft amber light. At the center stood the portrait Lydia had feared forgotten, a girl with earnest eyes and a faint, wistful smile. It hung in a gilded frame, poised like a silent witness to decades gone by. Lydia's breath caught. The painting looked more vibrant here than she remembered, as if the light itself breathed new life into the colors. The guests had gathered quietly around, their eyes fixed not on the grandeur of the manor but on the canvas that seemed to hold a story no one had dared to tell. A man stepped forward from the crowd. Tall and composed, with silver streaks in his dark hair, he smiled warmly at Lydia. Miss Hargrave, I'm Jonathan Ashcombe, he said, extending a hand. Thank you for coming. Lydia shook his hand, her nerves tingling. I wasn't sure if I should. Jonathan nodded. Your painting found its way here in unexpected ways. It inspired many of us more than you can imagine. He gestured to a booklet on a nearby table. Lydia picked it up. The front page displayed the portrait, accompanied by a story about the revival of local arts and the mysterious reappearance of the girl in the meadow, as the painting had come to be called. As a collector, I've seen many works, but this one, it speaks of hope and quiet strength. That's why I invited you. To celebrate your talent and the impact your art has had, even when you didn't know it. Lydia felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. The years of struggle, the doubts, the nights wondering if she had made the right choices, all seemed to converge in that moment. A sudden hush fell as Jonathan raised his glass. To the artist whose brush brought light to forgotten corners. Glasses clinked, warm smiles spread across faces, and Lydia realized that, for the first time in a long time, she belonged here. But just as she was about to speak, A voice from the crowd whispered a name that stopped her cold. The room fell almost silent. Lydia's eyes searched the faces around her, trying to catch the owner of the whispered name. Eleanor Radcliffe, the voice said again, soft but clear. A ripple passed through the crowd. Lydia's heart skipped. She knew that name. Famous in the art world, the very woman who had organized the original charity event where the painting was first shown. Eleanor Radcliffe was also the owner of the gallery where the painting had disappeared. Lydia's throat tightened. Could this woman be the reason the painting had resurfaced after all these years? Jonathan noticed her reaction and stepped closer. Miss Hargrave, Eleanor will be joining us shortly. She wishes to speak with you. Lydia swallowed hard and nodded. The tension in the air was thick as she waited, surrounded by strangers who suddenly felt less distant. Then, the grand double doors at the end of the room opened. Eleanor Radcliffe appeared, regal and composed, her silver hair pulled back neatly. Her eyes met Lydia's, and for a moment, there was an unspoken understanding. Eleanor approached slowly, her steps measured and deliberate. "I'm glad you came," she said quietly. "There's something important about that painting. Something you should know." Lydia's breath caught again. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her. "What do you mean?" she asked. Eleanor looked away briefly before speaking. "That portrait belongs to a story much bigger than any of us realized." Eleanor's eyes softened as she looked at Lydia. "The girl in the painting, she was my sister." Lydia blinked, stunned. "Your sister?" "Yes," Eleanor replied. "Her name was Amelia. She disappeared when we were young, and the painting was all we had left of her." The room seemed to shrink around Lydia as the story unfolded. Amelia had been a troubled child, caught between a strict upbringing and a longing for freedom. The painting was Eleanor's way of keeping her memory alive, a secret that had haunted their family for decades. "Why did she disappear?" Lydia asked softly. Eleanor hesitated. "She ran away to escape the pressures at home. We thought we lost her forever. But then the painting vanished too," Lydia said, piecing the story together. "Exactly," Eleanor nodded. "For years, no one knew where it was. Until recently." Jonathan stepped in. "We found it hidden in an old storage room beneath the manor. It was almost forgotten." Lydia's heart raced. She felt the weight of the moment, the past and present colliding in a way she had never imagined. Eleanor looked directly at her. "That painting, Lydia, it belongs to you now as much as it does to me." A silence filled the room as everyone absorbed the truth. Lydia's journey was just beginning, and the secrets behind the brush were waiting to be uncovered. Lydia's mind raced with questions, but she stayed silent, letting Eleanor continue. "There's more," Eleanor said quietly. "Before Amelia disappeared, she left a diary, a record of her thoughts and fears. It was hidden with the painting." Jonathan nodded. "We found the diary alongside the canvas. It reveals the struggles Amelia faced and her secret hope for freedom." Eleanor handed the diary to Lydia. The leather cover was worn, the pages yellowed with age. Lydia opened it carefully, the fragile paper whispering stories long kept in the shadows. As she read, Lydia felt a connection growing between her and the lost girl in the painting. Amelia's words spoke of loneliness, courage, and the pain of being misunderstood. The guests watched in silence as Lydia turned each page, her expression shifting from curiosity to empathy. Jonathan broke the quiet. "This diary explains why the painting means so much to all of us. It's more than art, it's a testament to resilience." Lydia closed the diary and looked up, determination shining in her eyes. "I want to share Amelia's story. The world should know her truth." Eleanor smiled, a weight lifting from her shoulders. "Then together, we'll make sure she's remembered." The air in the manor's grand hall felt heavy as Lydia clutched Amelia's diary close to her chest. Every word she had read carried the weight of a past cloaked in pain and silence. Yet, it was more than just Amelia's story. It was a call for truth, for justice, for remembrance. Eleanor's gaze lingered on Lydia with a mixture of hope and relief. "You must understand. Amelia was more than just my sister. She was a voice silenced by fear and misunderstanding. That painting, it's her legacy." Lydia swallowed hard, the complexity of the moment overwhelming her. But why was the painting hidden for so long? Why did no one speak of Amelia openly? Jonathan stepped forward, adjusting his jacket as he prepared to explain. After Amelia ran away, the family fell into deep silence. The painting was hidden to protect what little remained of her. It became a secret buried beneath the family's shame and sorrow. Lydia's fingers brushed the worn leather of the diary. Her words speak of loneliness, but also of hope. I want to find out what happened to her after she disappeared. Eleanor nodded slowly. That's why I brought you here. The manor holds many secrets, letters, photographs, even an old diary belonging to our parents. They might hold clues about Amelia's fate. The guests exchanged curious glances, sensing the story was far from over. Jonathan led Lydia and Eleanor through dim corridors lined with portraits of stern ancestors. The house seemed to breathe with memories, every creak and shadow hinting at untold stories. In a dusty study, Eleanor unlocked a wooden chest. Inside were faded letters tied with a ribbon, sepia photographs, and an old journal. Lydia carefully unfolded a letter, its ink faded but legible. It was addressed to Amelia, from someone unknown, filled with words of apology and longing. As Lydia read aloud, the room seemed to hold its breath. My dearest Amelia, I am sorry for the pain I caused. I hope you find the freedom we could not give you. You are never forgotten. A chill ran down Lydia's spine. The letter revealed a secret love, a promise broken, and a past tangled in regret. Eleanor's eyes glistened. Our family's history is complicated, but now it's time to bring the truth into the light. Lydia closed the letter and looked around at the gathered faces. Amelia's story deserves to be told. Not as a tragedy, but as a testament to strength and hope. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the manor grounds. Lydia felt the first stirrings of a journey that would change her life forever, uncovering the secrets hidden behind the portrait and the curtain. The days that followed were filled with tireless searching. Lydia, Eleanor, and Jonathan pored over every letter, photograph, and journal entry, each fragment shedding new light on Amelia's life and the tangled web that surrounded her disappearance. One evening, as the wind whispered through the ancient trees around the manor, Lydia discovered a sealed envelope tucked between the pages of the old journal. The wax seal was cracked, but the handwriting was unmistakably Eleanor's mother's. With trembling hands, Lydia unfolded the letter. It spoke of forbidden love, family secrets, and a desperate plea for forgiveness. The writer confessed to mistakes made in youth, to choices that shattered lives, and to a silent regret carried for decades. Eleanor's voice broke the silence. This is why Amelia was never spoken of. The truth was too painful. Jonathan added, and yet, it explained so much, why she felt trapped, why she ran, and why the family buried the past. Lydia's heart ached for the girl who had been lost to time, for the sister Eleanor had mourned in silence. Amelia's story will not end in shadows, Lydia said firmly. It's time to bring her memory into the light, for all to see. Together, they planned an exhibition, a public unveiling of the painting and the story behind it. Invitations were sent, whispers of the event spreading through the nearby towns. On the night of the exhibition, the manor was transformed. Guests arrived, curious and eager to witness the portrait that had remained hidden for so long. As Lydia stood beside the painting, she felt a quiet strength within her. The room held its breath as the curtain was drawn back, revealing the portrait of Amelia in all her haunting beauty. The applause was soft at first, then grew louder. Faces lit with understanding and respect. The silence of decades was finally broken. Eleanor reached out, taking Lydia's hand. Thank you for giving Amelia a voice. Lydia smiled. Her story was always waiting to be told. The exhibition was hailed as a triumph, not just for the art, but for the truth it revealed. Amelia's portrait had sparked conversations and reflections that reached far beyond the manor's walls. Her story touched many hearts, inspiring empathy and understanding. In the days after the event, Lydia received messages from strangers and old friends alike, all moved by the courage and resilience woven through Amelia's diary and the painting. One afternoon, Eleanor and Lydia sat in the manor's sunlit garden, surrounded by blooming roses and gentle breezes. Thank you, Lydia, Eleanor said softly. You've given my sister the voice she never had. Lydia smiled warmly. It was her story that led me here. And now, it's a new chapter for all of us. As they talked, Lydia felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. The shadows of the past were fading, replaced by a hopeful light. Jonathan joined them, carrying a small box. I have something for you both, he said. Inside were photographs. New images discovered in the manor's attic. Pictures of Amelia smiling, laughing, and living a life full of hope, not just sorrow. Eleanor's eyes sparkled. These will remind us who she really was. Lydia looked out over the garden, the setting sun painting the sky in soft pinks and golds. The past can no longer hold us captive, she said. It shapes us, but it does not define us. We move forward. Together, they vowed to honor Amelia's memory, not as a secret kept behind a curtain, but as a legacy shared with the world. The manor, once a place of silence and shadows, now blossomed with stories of courage and love, stories that would never be forgotten.